Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 17th of April and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. Guys, let's get started with this particular session. So in this session, we are going to take up all the important articles that are there in the today's newspaper. Also, guys, I would like to congratulate everyone who has cleared the examination result that was declared yesterday. Many congratulations to all. And yes, also we got very good results from our ethics course. So Narayan has a comment. Good morning, sir. I cleared prelims of AP, PSC Group 1, Group 2 just by following your daily analysis. I scored more than twice the cutoff in Group 2. Thank you so much, Narayan. Glad that you have got benefit from it, and also best of luck for the future journey. Keep it up. Okay, guys, so let's get started. And so first, in every class, we start with a GS quotation. Now, idea of this GS quotation is very simple, to give you some content that you can utilize in your mains examination as well as in essay paper. So today we have quotation from Mahatma Gandhi ji. So Gandhi ji says that the greatest of humanity is not in being human, but in being humane. Okay. Now, to be human is just to exist as a biological creature who is capable of certain functions. But being humane, it is the quality of one's character. It is the quality of one's character where a person depicts empathy, compassion, and also altruism at times. So the greatest of the quality is to be humane. So you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 4, ethics, integrity, and aptitude. So this is about it. And now let's get started with the first article. Okay, so guys, again, the thing that I just want to tell you, and I am telling you this from past few days, that because of elections, there are a large many articles that are specifically talking about election rally, election campaign, and all such kind of a things. Utterly not useful for your examination. So please refrain from wasting time in such kind of a things. Okay, so we have this article, navigating life as a consumer with a disability. We are going to see this article with respect to GS paper number 2. We'll see this particular article. Yes. So we are going to see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to social justice. And within social justice, we have the vulnerable section of society, and within the vulnerable section of society, fine, the issues related to disability we are going to take up here. So that is all, guys, about first of all the context of this particular article. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, let me give you little bit of a context, little bit of a background, so that it can help you to make more sense of this particular article. Fine. Basically, guys, when we talk about disability, when we talk about disability, first of all, disability is different from two other words, that is impairment and handicap. Impairment and handicap. Okay, these are two different words. First of all, impairment. Impairment means a bodily limitation. Bodily limitation of a person is called as impairment. Because of that bodily limitation, a person might not be able to do certain type of work. Because of that, person's disability emerges. Just a minute, let me put it properly. Yes. So first we have impairment. Impairment means bodily limitation of a person. Let's say a person is not having limbs. So what it is? It is impairment. Because of this, a person might not be able to do certain type of works. So what it will lead to? It will lead to the disability. And because of the impairment and disability, often people face certain discrimination, certain barriers in the society. It leads to the handicap. It leads to handicap. So these are the three terms that we have. Now, guys, when we talk about the rights of the person with a disability, we have United Nation Convention of Rights of Person with Disabilities. Rights of Person with Disabilities. Now, this particular convention, India has already signed, as well as India has ratified this particular convention. So India is obligated to provide certain basic rights to disabled people. Also, few important international frameworks also we have signed with respect to the disabled people. For example, there is Bivako Millennium Framework. Bivako Millennium Framework that we have signed. We have also signed the Incheon Strategy. We have also signed the Incheon Strategy. Now this Incheon strategy, Bivako Millennium Framework, they talks about making an inclusive and barrier-free society. They talk about making an inclusive and barrier-free society. Okay. Now, because of all these particular things that have happened, what has happened? India even came out with Rights of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. And this Rights of Person with Disabilities Act 2016, it is the model legislation or the law which deals with the right of person with disabilities. Okay. Now, here it talks about the accessibility for disabled people also. Accessibility, make public space accessible to them, make libraries accessible to them. Even it talks about making media accessible to the disabled people. But still we find that accessibility issues for the disabled people has not been solved. There are still large many places where accessibility is not there for disabled people. And one of that particular dimension is being covered in this particular article. That is the type of limitations, type of problems that the consumers who have a disability they face. Okay. So basically, March 15, it is celebrated as World Consumer Rights Day. World Consumer Rights Day. But specifically when we talk about consumers, the consumers with disability, their problems have not been discussed that much. Now, let's take one example to understand this particular problem. Suppose there is a consumer who who is having visual disability. There is a person having visual disability. Now, suppose this particular person wants to buy some gadget. First of all, he needs to go to the store. He needs to go to the store. Now, in order to go to the store, first of all, he need to use a mobile application by which he will book a taxi or will book an auto. Now, often we find these particular thing that these applications are not disabled friendly. They are not disabled friendly. If a person is having visual disability, fine, he will face a problem here. Then let's say with the help of some person, he booked a cab, and let's say he reached to this particular store. Now, basically in store, in order to reach to the sections where there are the electronic gadgets, he will again need help. Tactile pavements, okay, which can guide the person with visual disability. They are most of the times not there. Even if a person is facing some locomotor disability, let's say is not able to walk, then the ramps are not there, wheelchairs chairs are not there. Okay. Now suppose that particular person reaches that section and wants to know the features of this particular gadget. Most of the time, he will not be able to do this particular thing because instructions are not there in Braille. Okay, features are not written in the Braille language. Fine, but chalo, anyhow, he made the purchase. Now he reaches home, but then he finds that that equipment is faulty. Now grievance redressal is again going to be very much tedious because the websites are not accessible. Consumer helplines often they are not created in such a mind keeping the problems that a disabled people are going to face. So we find that the consumers, particularly who are disabled, they face obstacles, they face problem at every front. Okay. Now, so this particular says that actually disabled people that are there, they always have to seek the help of other people, even for the most basic human activities. And even as a consumer also, they have to face lot of such problems, which leads to the loss of their dignity. It leads to the loss of their independent decision making, and often their privacy is also impacted. So therefore, all these particular things they hamper a disabled person in living an independent life. Independent life. Now, why there are the accessibility challenges? Why these things are not being made accessible? So we need to understand that first of all, when we talk about the businesses, they don't perceive the people with disabilities as their big time consumers. Why? Because population of the disabled people is very much less. According to World Bank 2009 report, 5 to 8% of the population in India they face disability. But if we take data from census, then just 2.2% of the people they face disability. So because of they being minority, businesses are not interested in tailoring their services for disabled people. Okay, so this is something. Then also the second is that there is a gap in sensitization also. Even governments have failed to sensitize business that their products or their goods need to be disabled friendly. Fine. Now one case study just I want to discuss, that FSSAI, FSSAI, that is the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, they issued an advisory in 2023 that all the food business operators, they have to incorporate a QR codes on their products. In these QR codes, all the information about the food, nutritional content, everything will be there. So they have to do this particular thing. Now it has been said that as FSSAI made that they have to have a QR code, in the same way on every consumer good, there needs to be some guideline that how to make that particular product disabled friendly. For example, instructions need to be given in braille language, expiry date should be written in braille, such kind of a things need to be there. Now if we talk about, guys, many countries such as Australia, US, Canada, fine, they are coming out with the mandatory packaging norms so that the disabled people can read the labels and all such things can happen. Now, in context of India, as I told you earlier, we have Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016, and it provides large number of rights for the disabled people, which includes the right to accessibility also. Accessibility. Now, basically, it is important that all the information and communication technology that are there, fine, the goods and services, they are to be made accessible to disabled people. So basically, even the online platforms that are there, websites are there that are there. For example, a consumer website is there that needs to be made accessible to the disabled people. This act, that is Right of Person with Disabilities Act, provides it. And if there is any violation, then a complaint can be filed with the Disability Commission. But we face one problem, that often these disability commissions, they issue just directions, they issue just recommendatory direction, and often basically the legal force is not there. So therefore what happens, effectively their accessibility is not taken care of, their rights are not recognized on the ground. Now, also one more avenue is there where the consumers can get protection, that is the Consumer Protection Act 2019. And it has basically it has enabling mechanism to get its. Now see, Consumer Protection Act, it issues directives, and these directives are legally binding. These directives are legally binding. And because of these legally binding directives, many number of times the consumers, they have got respite also. But the problem again comes is that under the CPA, Consumer Protection Act, there is no specific enabling clause to provide support to the consumers with disabilities. Okay, so consumer with disabilities, fine, for them we don't have much enabling laws here. So what we need to do, we need to ensure that Right of Person with Disabilities Act and Customer Protection Act, they need to be aligned together, so this is something that is to be done. Fine. So guys, I hope that you have understood it, and along with the background that we have discussed, I hope that all these things now makes sense. So this is about it. And now moving to the next article. Reforms needed in voting process. Reforms needed in voting process. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to polity, and within the polity, issues related to elections. Okay. Now, before going in this particular article, let's understand certain basic background information. Okay. So basically, first guys, we need to understand voter verifiable paper audit trail, VVPAT, VVPAT, voter verified paper audit trail. So basically, guys, I'm sure that you might have seen the EVM. Okay, I'm sure that you might have seen the EVM. Okay, electronic voting machine. Okay, now basically EVM, electronic voting machine. So basically with electronic voting machine, there is another device that is now fitted, which is called as VVPAT. Fine, here this device that you can see, it is the VVPAT device. Now what is the objective of this particular device? Let's understand this. Let's understand this thing. Suppose now let's say this is an EVM. This is an EVM. Okay, and I vote for XYZ person. I vote for XYZ person. So here you will find that we will have different buttons, okay, and different candidates. Their names are written. Now, let's say I want to vote for the XYZ person whose name is written here, and if I will press this particular button, my vote will go to this XYZ person. Okay, but there are often these doubts that have been raised, that how I know that this EVM is credible, how I know that this EVM is not tempered, how to be sure that I will click this particular button and the vote will go to XYZ. How I can be sure that the vote will not go to ABC or vote will not go to some other person? Fine. So for this particular thing, what happens? VVPAT is attached with this EVM. What will happen when I will vote? When I will vote in this VVPAT, there is a window. There is a window in which a slip will be generated, and on that particular slip, it will be written that to whom I have voted. For example, I voted for XYZ. So basically a slip will be generated. Now I will not be able to get that slip. I'll not get that slip. Slip will be generated internally. That slip will be displayed here in this particular window where I can verify that, okay, I have voted for this person, and that slip will drop within. It will drop within. Fine. So what is happening through this VVPAT? I am able to audit. I am able to ensure that, okay, the person to whom I have given the vote, that person got the vote and a slip also got generated. Now, in last, what can be done? Suppose, guys, somebody says that, okay, we don't trust the EVM. EVM was hacked. So basically the votes in the EVM, they can be tallied with the paper slips that are there in this VVPAT box. Okay, so the votes according to EVM, they can be tallied with this VVPAT box paper slips that are there. So this was brought as an initiative. This was brought as an initiative. And actually what happened in 2019 assembly elections, VVPAT system was also utilized. Now, basically Supreme Court is hearing a petition which says that there should be the 100% cross verification of the VVPAT slips with the EVM. Okay, so all the votes that will be counted with the through the EVM, they are to be tallied with the VVPAT mandatorily. Fine, this is the petition that has been filed. Now, when we talk about little bit, guys, the history of the EVM, they got started on trial basis in 1982 in the assembly elections in the assembly constituency of Paravur in Kerala. Okay. After that, what happened? After that, what happened? Basically, they were deployed. EVM were deployed fine in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry, West Bengal in 2001. And in 2004 general election, in 2004 Lok Sabha also, they were deployed in all the 543 constituency. Fine. So this is the brief history with respect to the usage of the EVM. However, there is one important judgment that you should know. That is Subramaniam Swamy versus Election Commission of India. Now, in this particular judgment, Supreme Court said that the paper trail is very important for the free and fair elections. And in order to bring this paper trail along with the EVM, VVPAT was introduced and it was used in 2019. Now, basically, when we talk about the electronic medium of for the voting, such as the EVM, there are a lot of controversies. It is said that it can be hacked and all such kind of a thing. Now, see, Election Commission of India has provided multiple number of times that EVM, it is a standalone device like a calculator. It is not connected with any external device. So therefore, hacking, etc., such things don't come. However, in other countries also these debates have happened, and because of that, Netherlands and US, they discontinued the use of EVM. Okay, Germany also, what they did, they said that the EVM is unconstitutional in 2009, sorry. So therefore, many of the Western countries, they don't use EVM for their election. They still use paper ballot. They still use paper ballot, and we have example here. Fine, England, France, Netherlands, US, they are using the paper ballot. Fine. Now, so these countries are moving towards the paper ballot. So what are the benefits of EVM? Why EVM should be continued anyhow? So we have multiple benefits of using EVM. Number one benefit is that it has nearly eradicated booth capturing. Now, what actually happened in the booth capturing? So basically, let's say there is an election booth. Some goons will come there, and what they'll do, suppose you are using paper ballot. Suppose you're using paper ballot. So basically, to the candidate whomsoever they want to win, they will put hundreds of thousands of ballot paper in that particular box in a minute. In a minute, you can put hundreds or thousands of the ballot papers there. Fine. So the rigging, booth capturing was there. But now, when we talk about the EVM, in 1 minute, maximum votes that can be casted in the EVM are the 4 votes per minute. 4 votes per minute. So therefore, it increases the time required to stuff the false votes. And because of this thing, it acts as a discouragement, it acts as a disincentive, and therefore booth capturing incidents have come down. Second thing is that often there used to be the controversies with respect to the invalid paper ballots. Now let me explain you. So suppose this is a paper ballot. In this paper ballot, Mr. X's name, political, the symbol, etc. is written. Y, his name's political symbol is written. Now what you need to do, you will make a stamp either in the front of X's vote, or you will make a stamp in front of Y. Sometimes what used to happen, basically the markings of the ballot paper, they were not very much clear. Sometimes you might make a stamp between X and Y, or multiple stamps are there. So these particular paper ballots will be declared as invalid, and often it used to become a bone of contention between the contending candidates. So this was problem. Then also using EVM is environmental friendly because so much of the paper will not now be needed. Also, it enhances the convenience of the polling officers when they need to count the vote. So during counting, it makes the counting fast, it makes counting error free. A lot of human resource that was needed, that need also comes down. So because of that, the EVMs have been used. Now, also I have told you that many number of times ECI said that there are the measures to ensure that the integrity of EVM is not tempered. Okay. Now, basically, guys, understand. Basically, guys, now it is being said. Now it is being said that all the votes, 100% of the votes of the EVM should be matched with the VVPAT. Should be matched with the VVPAT. Now, in this capacity, there is some way forward that we have. Let's understand this particular way forward. Now it has been provided that counting the votes first in EVM and then matching it with the VVPAT will be very much time taking. It will be very much cumbersome exercise. So what is to be done? What is to be done? First of all, states need to be divided. States, let a particular state is there. It needs to be divided in multiple regions. It needs to be divided in the multiple regions. Okay, this is something that is to be done. Now suppose in one of a polling booth, it is being reported that one EVM seems to showing some error, or a suspect of an error is there. Then only this particular region's EVM should be matched with the EVM votes should be matched with the VVPAT. So this is to be done. This is to be done. So rather than matching all the votes of EVM, fine, we need to divide a state in multiple regions, and our region's EVM and VVPAT should be matched. Fine. Moreover, also they say that totalizers should be used. Totalizer should be used. Now, what is a totalizer machine? Let's understand this thing. Now, see, basically, we see that let's say there is a particular constituency. Now, this particular constituency will be divided in multiple. There will be multiple polling booths that will be there. Multiple polling booths will be there. Okay, multiple polling booths are there in a constituency. Now, often what happens, some of the political candidates, they try to threaten the people. They try to threaten the people at a booth level that you need to vote for us. And if you didn't voted for us, we will not give you some welfare schemes or XYZ kind of threats will be there. Now, see, when the result will be declared booth wise, let's say this candidate who was threatening them belonged to the X party, and when it is found that actually the majority of votes have gone to Y party, then this person from X party will know that okay, people have not voted for me, and then he might try to seek revenge. So therefore, a totalizer machine, what they do, totalizer machines, rather than basically they will club the total votes from 15 to 20 constituency. Usually it is 14. Okay, so from 15 to 20 constituencies, all the votes will be aggregated. Then the collective result from these 15 to 20 booths will be given. So rather than giving result booth by booth, 15 to 20 constituency, sorry, I'm using the word constituency, 15 to 20 booths are clubbed and their result will be declared. Okay, so these are the totalizers. They can also be utilized. So this is all about it. And now moving to next article. Why has India allowed FII to invest in its green bond? Fine. So what has happened? Recently, Reserve Bank of India has allowed that foreign institutional investor. Now, who are the foreign institutional investors? Foreign institutional investors needs the institutions such as insurance companies, pension fund, fine, hedge funds. All they are called as the foreign institutional investors. Okay, suppose I am investing in the stock market. I'm a retail investor. Fine. So these big players, institutional players, insurance companies, pension funds, okay, wealth funds, they are called as the institutional investors. So they are allowed to invest in the sovereign green bond of India. Now, what is a sovereign green bond? Sovereign green bond is a kind of a debt instrument that specifically will raise money, and that money will be invested in the funds, that will help in India to become the low carbon economy. Okay, let me give you example also. So basically, there are the projects such as solar project, wind project, biomass to energy projects, hydropower energy projects that are there, particularly hydropower energy projects under the 25 megawatt projects to projects to improve the public lighting, for example, replacing the old yellow bulbs with LEDs, construction of low carbon buildings. Okay, so all these projects are environmentally sensitive. We need a lot of money to invest in these projects, and that particular money is raised by a special type of bond called as green bond. Fine. Now, basically, in order to transition towards the low carbon economy, we need to invest in renewable energy. We need to invest in clean technologies. Moreover, also, if we talk about India, India has taken the target of becoming a net zero by 2070. Then also India has taken the goal to ensure that 50% of India's energy should come from non-fossil fuels by 2030. Also, carbon intensity is to be reduced by 45%. Okay, so these are the goals that India has taken. Okay, and Prime Minister has taken these goals in COP 26 2021. Now, for this, we need money. And therefore, what has happened? Recently, Reserve Bank of India issued sovereign gold bonds. Recently, Reserve Bank of India issued sovereign gold bonds of 16,000 crore rupees. Now, these particular gold bonds were issued in two tranches in 2023, and they will mature in 2033. Okay, so this is something that is there. Now, we have seen that a majority of these bonds have been bought by the financial institutions such as the banks. Why? Because you might already be knowing about the statutory liquid ratio, SLR. So basically, a particular part of deposits that the bank has raised, they have to keep it aside as SLR. Now, fine. So basically, guys, when we talk about the SLR, fine. So SLR, it changes from time to time. Fine. SLR changes from time to time. Okay. And basically, when we talk about the SLR, so around 23 to 24% SLR stays. Fine. SLR stays 23 to 24%. Now, what it means? Fine. 23 to 24%. Right now, it is around 18%. Okay. Right now, it is 18%. Let me explain you this thing. Suppose bank raised 100 rupees, bank got 100 rupees as a deposit. So 18% means 18 rupees you need to keep aside as SLR. Now that 18 rupees they can keep in the form of the government bonds, in the form of government securities. Even these sovereign gold bonds that we have, fine, if bank will buy these sovereign gold bond, they can basically these sovereign gold bonds can be kept under the SLR. So this is something that the banks are buying it. Now government wants that more, even foreign investors should invest in this. So therefore, they have allowed the foreign institutional investors to invest. Moreover, one more important thing you need to understand, that see, interest that will be given by these sovereign gold bonds, it is less than the conventional government securities. Fine. So what it means? It means that the bank will face a kind of a loss. For example, conventional government security is giving you interest of 7%, but this sovereign gold bond is giving you interest of 5%. So you will have a 2% loss. Now that amount that has been foregone, it is called as greenium. And it is believed that the financial institutions should embrace these greeniums, because these greeniums will help us to move towards a green future, towards a cleaner future. Fine. So even for prelims examination, if this comes that the word greenium is often in news, what does this word greenium means? So keep it in mind. Now, basically, what has happened? Green taxonomy gap. So in 22-23 budget, finance minister announced that we are going to issue sovereign green bonds, and that sovereign green bond will help us to invest into the government projects, fine, such as the wind project, solar projects, etc. However, RBI provided this thing that we have not created a green taxonomy. Now, what is this meaning of green taxonomy? Green taxonomy means that we have not created a category, separate category, that okay, this category you have 10 items, and here if you will invest, that will be called as your green investment. So we need to create a green taxonomy, means we need to create a particular category in which there needs to be the multiple items. Find that okay, investing in these items means the green investment. However, this green taxonomy was then later released by the finance ministry, and they have detailed that all these particular projects and many others are there which will be counted for green investment. So this is that has happened here. Fine. I hope you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Imported inflation. Imported inflation. So what happened recently? Asian Development Bank, ADB, Asian Development Bank has warned that India might face imported inflation. Imported inflation. So what is this imported inflation? Why India will face imported inflation? So all these things we'll discuss. First of all, imported inflation, it refers to rise in the price of goods and services in a country because of a rise in the price of imports. Let's take this example. Let's take a very simple example. Now, suppose now when we talk about India, 84% of India's oil needs, they are met by imports. They are met by imports. So oil, 84% of oil needs, they are met by import. Now suppose crude oil price goes up. Suppose crude oil price goes up. Okay. So therefore, the oil that will import in India, it will become expensive. As the imported oil is becoming expensive, refined oil will also be expensive. Petrol and diesel will be expensive. Petrol and diesel will be expensive. Now, as a lot of transportation in India happens through the roadways, what will happen? All the goods that are being transported by the road, by the trucks, that will be expensive. So what happens in India? Inflation will come. In India, inflation is coming. Why this inflation is coming? Because at the global level the crude oil price went up. This is called as an imported inflation. One more example of imported inflation. Now we are procuring a lot of raw materials from the other countries, and let's say these raw materials are processed in the finished goods. So if the raw material price goes up, finished goods price will also go up. Okay, now this kind of an inflation is because of the external factors. We call it as imported inflation. Now it has been said that often because a country's currency depreciates, depreciation in the value of country's currency, it will also lead to the imported inflation. Why it will lead to imported inflation? Let's understand this thing. Now, um, let's say earlier $1, earlier $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Earlier $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Now $1, because rupee got depreciated, now $1 is equal to 100 rupees. Fine. Why? Because the rupee got depreciated in front of dollar. Now suppose now see, let's say the price of, oil was earlier $1 per barrel. Just hypothetically I'm taking. Right now also the price of oil is $1 per barrel. But in domestic terms, fine. But now in the terms of the domestic currency, in order to buy this one barrel of oil, I need to give 100 rupees. I need to give 100 rupees. Landed price of oil will increase. Earlier I was giving 50 rupees. Why I was now see, dollar, earlier $1 is equal to 50, now $1 is equal to 100. I need to pay $1 to buy oil, and $1 today cost 100 rupees. So actually I am paying 100 rupees today to buy oil. Earlier I was giving 50 rupees to buy oil. As I'm giving more money to buy oil, what it will lead to? It will lead to inflation in the country. So basically, depreciation in the value of the country's currency, it is seen as the most important reason behind imported inflation. Why? Let's read it. It is because when a country's currency depreciates, people in the country will have to shell out more of their local currency to purchase the necessary foreign currency for required to buy the foreign goods or services. This is something. Okay. So basically, moreover, rise in import cost. even without depreciation also will lead to the imported inflation. For example, let's say we are procuring some XYZ raw material. XYZ raw material. That XYZ raw material cost $1. It cost $1. But now what has happened, the cost of this particular raw material increased from $1 to $2. Let's say, let's say our rupee has not got depreciated. Earlier, $1 was 50 rupees. Now also $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Fine, the rupee did not got depreciated, but the raw material in question, its price has increased. Its price has increased. So it will also lead to the imported inflation in India. Many number of times we see that the international crude oil price, it goes up and it leads to imported inflation. Now see, there is some other alternative viewpoint also that is there. Some critics, they say that it is not true that the cost will determine the price. Now if you see this particular example that we have seen, sometimes what happens, the cost sometimes what happened, cost of raw material increased, and as the cost of raw material increased, final price will also increase. Now critics say that this is not true. It is not true that the cost determines the price. They say that if we purely see it from the economics point of view, if we purely see the economic point of view, what is the price? Price is what the consumers are willing to pay for the final good. If consumers are not willing to pay more, raw material price or any price will not go up. Fine. So if the consumers are not willing to pay, okay, so they say okay, that inflation is always there because the consumers are willing to pay more. If consumers are not willing to pay more, doesn't matters, fine, the inflation will not come. So this is something that has been there. Okay, so guys, I hope that you've understood all the basic concepts that are mentioned in this article. Now, moving to next article. A new fish species spotted using tools in the Laccadive Sea. So basically, guys, the three species of the fish in the Laccadive, fine, they have been found using the tools. What are these three varieties and what type of tools they are using? Let's understand this thing. So basically, first of all, the three species, they are Jensen's Ross, Checkerboard Ross, and the third is moon ross. These three species of fish, they are found using tools. First of all, Jensen ross and checkerboard ross, earlier also they have been reported of using tool, but moon ross, it has been found now of using tools. So how they are actually using the tools? So basically, first of all, aquatic animals, there are very less reports that they use tools because first of all, intelligence level of these aquatic creatures, it is believed to be less. Obviously, dolphins are much smarter, but other fishes, etc., their intelligence level is assumed that they are less. Secondly, they don't have hands or claws or tentacles. And because they don't have hands, claws, or tentacles, operating a tool is very difficult for them. So this is something that has happened. But guys, what has actually happened in this particular case? What has happened in this particular case? So basically, fishes, what they do, they are using the hard shells of the basically what they are doing, they are using the coral structures. They are using coral structures to break the hard shells of sea urchin. So basically, what they do, they carry the sea urchin on a coral. Let's say this is a coral. They will, let's say this is a fish. Now the fish, they will carry the sea urchins and they will drop them on hard corals. As they'll drop on them on the hard corals, they will break open and then they will eat it. So what they are doing, they are using this particular hard coral surfaces as a tool. They are using these hard coral surfaces as a tool. So this is the way they have been using it. Keep these species in the mind. However, guys, no need to do too much of the PhD in this particular article. Fine. So that is all about it. And now moving to next article. Farm sector can grow over 6% in financial year 25, Niti Aayog. So basically, guys, only two-liner concept is there. Agricultural and life sector might see the growth of 6% in 24-25. Two reasons. Number one, favorable monsoon. And number two, low pace. Now, if you see, in 23-24, agriculture growth was 0.67%. And because of this favorable low base, this particular year, if it will be marginally be good, which will be there because of the monsoon, because of that favorable base effect, fine, the growth will register the 6% of growth rate. So this is something that has been there. According to the Indian Meteorological Department, fine, the above normal monsoon is predicted at 106%. So this is about it. Fine. So guys, that is all about the newspaper analysis for today. I hope that you have understood it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. Thank you so much.